Buffalo After Dark is proud to recommend I Barbecue for You. Pre-orders are suggested by calling 716-880-7667. I Barbecue for You, Buffalo's new barbecue destination.
Just move the coyotes. Don't do another expansion.
Right? It would never crossed my mind. So somebody called the house when I was out mowing the grass.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Holy shit, your face is like purple.
Are you still up? Now in your 5th season, it's Buffalo After Dark.
Welcome to Buffalo After Dark, everybody. It is Thursday night, March 13th. We go back to our Wednesday night next week, but of course, Hanson's here with me. How's your week going? Actually, how was week 1 of Beer League hockey?
Bear League hockey was actually interesting. For one, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is we got the shit kicked out of us, and we lost 9-1 to a team called the Jimbo Chips, and it was really, really ugly. But the good news is the lone goal from the Wet Bandits is the name of the team I play for. I scored the lone goal for our team yesterday.
There you go. Hey, your work did something, so all is good. Well, good to hear. At least it went all right on that aspect. So that's definitely a big plus. But we got a lot of stuff to cover today. Obviously, it's a trade deadline, and of course, lots of trades that happened in the NFL. Lots of good stuff for the Bills. The Dallas Cowboys got screwed, and the Jets are fucking stupid. So we'll talk about that today too.
Look at this.
Good stuff, man. Good
Surprise!
stuff. Oh man, that's a great moment right there. Yeah, good job, Jets. You got $49 million in dead cap now that you got rid of Aaron Rodgers. We'll talk about that in a few moments as well.
You guys are so shit that I got a t-shirt that you can get on rushordertshirts.com.
Oh God, let's rack that up as a good moment of this season. So anyways, if you guys want to join us, of course, we're on YouTube and Facebook right now. And if anyone's wondering what happened to our episode from last week, we're still sorting through some of the technical issues. So we'll try to get it up as soon as we can. But for the people that joined us last week, of course, we do appreciate it. So let's kick it off because there are a lot of trades to talk about. And we've had a lot of news coming in. So really just some of the big things. We'll talk about the Bills first, and then we'll go through some of the big things. But obviously, Reed Ferguson's going to be here for another 4 years. Damar Hamlin's got a 1-year extension. Ty Johnson's here for another 2 years. But then we get into some of the people that we decided to retain. And of course, linebacker Terrell Bernard, 4 years, $50 million. Khalil Shakir, 4 years, $60.2 million. The edge rusher Greg Rousseau, 4 years, $80 million. But the big contract that ended up coming out, Josh Allen will be here until the year 2030 because he got extended for 6 years, $330 million, and 250 of it is guaranteed money.
The funny thing about all these contracts is the Bills signed 4 of their core players in 3 days. Guys like Shakir, Bernard, Russo, and of course Josh Allen. That was a no-brainer. And I said that on the show for years, that there was no doubt in my mind that the Bills were going to extend Josh Allen. But the nice thing about that is people have asked him, why didn't you go for the big bucks? Why didn't you want that massive amount of money like any other quarterback usually gets? And he simply said, because I'm a team player and I want to keep it going for as long as possible. And I want to make sure the team is able to create cap space and make it easier for us to be successful for the long future.
Yeah. And he also came out and he said, I have a house. I have a job I enjoy. I have a car.
There you go.
I don't need anything else.
And he's already said, I don't want to leave Buffalo, and I signed that contract for a reason.
Good. Yeah, so definitely love that move was made, and he deserves it. So, definitely glad to see him get that. But
well, yeah, especially after getting the MVP honors.
Yep, absolutely. But then, Bean made some stuff happen. So
Baby.
we'll start out kind of at the small end, and then we're going to go into some of the big deals. But we have 2 running backs that ended up getting signed. So Derek Forrest and Darrington Evans, 1 year each. So they're going to be here. We have wide receiver Laviska Shenault that got signed today. But man, we got some, and we also got Josh Palmer, a wide receiver, 3 years, $36 million. But he definitely got some defensive help because defensive tackles Michael Hacks 3 years 24 million, Larry Okunjobi big boy 1 year 8.3 million, but the big signing that everyone's talking about, edge rusher Joey Bosa.
Joey Bosa.
1 year 12.6 million. And good job 49ers, you fucked your team over because you thought he was so going to be playing with his brother, and that didn't happen, and you lowballed him. And and Tyler Taraboche and the Dolphins, hey, sucks to be you too, because you guys screwed him over with a lowball offer also. And you think that the Bills aren't going to be doing anything anytime soon? Well, Josh Allen is still Tua's daddy, and he still owns him in the season. I think he's like I think Tua's only like 2-16 against him or something crazy.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah. And he's one concussion away from getting murdered, basically. And then, on top of it, the 49ers, they gutted their team.
They had no choice.
They're in cap hell. It's like, what do you think the 49ers are going to do? Their Super Bowl window is done.
At this point, I would have to agree. But let's go through every single one individually. Let's start with Josh Palmer. 3 years, $36 million with the Buffalo Bills coming from the LA Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing about this signing is that people ask, why'd you sign with the Bills? Well, I would have won a Super Bowl, and, I'm from, Brampton, Ontario. I figured, I come home. He's from Southern Ontario, for God's sake.
Yeah, definitely. And he said, hey, Toronto's only like an hour and 40, even including the border, so...
There you go.
So, yeah, but good to see him, though, and it gives Josh Allen another weapon he can go to, so that's definitely a big positive.
What I will say, though, is I've actually seen mixed reactions about that signing. I mean, I knew who Josh Palmer was. That's pretty obvious. He was one of Justin Herbert's favorite weapons, and he was one of the biggest name wide receivers in the free agent market this year, which I'm fine with getting. I wasn't expecting him to come to the Bills by any means. I just wasn't sure if that was, the guy, because you know what I'm saying? Like, the Bills are at the point now where they're so good on paper that they need to get another weapon for Josh Allen to get them over the hump. But is Josh Palmer really the guy? I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, he's going to be really good with making separation on the field, because that was something like Mac Hollins, for example. I mean, I wish him all the best. He went to the Patriots.
Oh, yeah.
But if you look at Mac Hollins versus Josh Palmer, Mac Hollins is like 30 years old, but he can't create separation, and neither can Neon Coleman. But he can learn from Josh Palmer of how to do this.
Yeah.
And Josh Palmer's contract is nice too, because Josh Palmer is only 25, so there's plenty of room for him to develop to become the potential number one starter. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know, but I definitely think he'll easily be a number two.
Yeah, for sure, and it gives another depth piece at the very least. But then when we look at Larry Okunjobi, man, the Steelers lost a defensive weapon.
Oh my God! Well, Pittsburgh released him, so that's their own fault.
Right.
But I find this signing very interesting because Bean has been very specific about stopping the run, and that was something that the Bills were really lacking in the AFC Championship game against Kansas City a few months ago.
Right.
And Bean looked at that game and he said, "We need a stop runner, and we got to stop the run," because Mahomes was scrambling all over the field. What was his fucking name? Isaiah Pacheco.
Mm-hmm.
He's running over the field, things like that. You can't have pieces that are just wide open in an important game like that. When you're especially one game away from the Super Bowl, you want to be able to get over the hump. So I think for Larry Okunjobi to come to Buffalo to kind of be that mentor for Ed Oliver and be the mentor for all these other veterans, there's a very good shot he's going to help Dwayne Carter out a lot. So I think that this veteran presence move is going to be really key moving forward, because he knows how to stop the run, which is huge.
Yeah, and he's a big dude too, 6'3", 305, so he gives you some much-needed size on that line.
Absolutely. And I think of all the signings, Michael Hosh is probably the one that makes the most sense, because that dude got, 3 years? How much did he get?
So it was 3 years and $24 million, so pretty
$24 million.
cap-friendly.
Yeah, exactly. So I love this move because recently the Steelers traded for DK Metcalf, and I saw a clip the night he got traded, and at that point the Bills already got Hosh to a contract.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing I saw on Monday night after DK was traded was there was a clip of him playing man-to-man coverage against DK Metcalf, who's one of the fastest wide receivers and probably one of the most built wide receivers in football, and you have a 6'2" linebacker from Canada. Who, by the way, the Bills are very Canadian friendly, as you haven't noticed.
Yeah, actually, I'll correct you on one thing. 6'4", 267.
Even better. So at that point, Hush is a pretty big dude. And I remember watching him in the game against the Bills back in December, and he was all over the field. He was just ramming through
Yeah,
guys.
he flies.
Yeah, and that's something they need. And it would be incredibly nice too to have someone like that on the field. And when I saw that, I'm like, I always liked Mike Hush. I thought he was a very good, defensive end.
Yeah.
But now that he's actually on the team, he's pretty much embracing this role, which I think is great.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, we got to talk about Joey Bosa, the big prize, because there's Von Miller's replacement.
Okay, I have two main reactions to this one. Number one, I love this signing because of the fact that A, we know what Joey Bosa is capable of when he's healthy. That's
Mhm.
number one. Number two, it's a 1-year rental deal. So if he doesn't pan out, you can just get rid of him next
Yeah,
year.
you don't have to worry about the cap.
Exactly. It's not, and this also proves to me that Brandon Bean has learned from his mistake from paying Von Miller all that money.
Yeah. And, of course, the interesting thing is the door's still open for Von Miller, but will he come back? Probably not.
I don't think so. I think he's going to want to go back to Denver. That's my guess where he's going to go. I would have liked to trade him to like the Browns, but obviously that was never going to happen. That was my speculation at the time.
Oh,
But
Jesus, yeah, and the Browns are in cap hell, right? Well, actually, the
they're
Browns
in
are just in
deep
hell,
shit.
period.
Cleveland's in deep shit.
Yeah,
But
we'll talk about that in a few moments.
yeah. But as for Bosa, though, I love this signing. This is the Von Miller replacement. He's 6 years younger than Von Miller. He's also only making $12 million for the year, which is great. And on top of all that, it's a 1-year risk less free deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like Joey
low risk, high
Bosa,
reward.
exactly. So it's a 5-time Pro Bowler. His name, the Bosa family in the National Football League, is expanded 4 decades. I mean, God damn it. His dad, John Bosa, played for the Dolphins in the late 80s, early 90s. And
Yeah.
then his brother, obviously, is Nick Bosa. And people were speculating, because you were saying this earlier, was the whole idea of the 49ers not getting Joey Bosa. Their intention was to cut Leonard Floyd, who went to the Atlanta Falcons, and they were going to use that cap space to bring in Joey Bosa because people said, well, people were speculating that Joey was going to get cut and play with Nick, or he was going to go to the Dolphins to follow his dad's footprints. It turns out he completely 180 on both of them. And I read this too, by the way, just as he was about to sign that contract, he was putting his pen down, by the way, to put on the paper. Just as he's putting it down, the Buffalo Bills come out of nowhere and they said, $12.6 million. Wait, what? Deal.
Right?
That's literally what they did. And Niners fans are pissed.
Yeah. Well, hey, sucks to be them. Oh, by the way, they'll have the world's largest scoreboard this coming season for the Super Bowl, but sucks to be you guys. You just totally killed your Super Bowl window with all the changes you just got made.
Oh, yeah, big time. But it's interesting in the fact because the fact that Nick Bosa plays for the Niners and Joey would have been perfect to have both of the Bosa brothers on the Niners, that would have been crazy. But the fact that he chose Buffalo over San Francisco or Miami, for that matter, really speaks volume.
Yeah.
And people asked him, why did you come to Buffalo? He says, listen, I'm old as shit, but I want to win a Super Bowl.
Right. And this
Straight to
gives
the
them a
point.
great opportunity. So,
Straight to the point. And
Yeah.
I can respect that. So people have said that this is actually a very high risk, high reward kind of a thing because of if you look at Joey Bosa's stats in the last few years,
yeah, he hasn't played a
he-
complete season.
he doesn't. And a lot of it has to do with either bad luck or it's because he had injuries. And a lot of times when Joey Bosa gets hurt, that really affects the Chargers defense because you have to remember something. The Chargers defense was the number one defense midway through the season last season before the Eagles.
It was.
So, and Joey Bosa to be part of that pass rushing unit, I think is just spectacular because it shows that the Bills are determined, and I think they acknowledge it too, that they're willing to look into the California West Coast defense because they see the potential in these guys because they look at what the Eagles did in the Super Bowl. Because remember, I didn't watch it; I saw the highlights,
Yep.
and they said, you know what, we need to emulate what Philly did. So they go out and get a bunch of Canadians and Joey Bosa.
Yep, very true. And then when we go through some of the other big deals, I mean, we'll talk about Cleveland and the dumpster fire that they are in just a moment, but the
Oh my
Chicago
God,
Bears did a lot of good things in the
they
free
did.
agency. And let's talk about what happened. So they retained three key players: Josh Blackwell, Chris Williams, where they ended up tendering the RFA, and then Iman Obung Bemaga, who got 2 years,
You're
five
having a hard
million,
time,
however
aren't
the
you?
fuck I say that, but uh, we know how we're talking about that. And actually, our buddy Brad down in Kentucky is
Kentucky.
basically telling us, I think these players are coming to be part of the culture and play with Josh, and I agree. I mean, a lot of these players want to be here because they want to win. So that's great to see. But the Chicago Bears did some huge stuff. So
As they
the
should.
yeah, Jonah Jackson, and they ended up signing, who was previously actually was traded from the Rams. But the big one, who would have thought that Joe Tooney would have been traded from the Chiefs?
I didn't think he was going to get traded. I thought the Chiefs would let him go after that 1 year of his remaining deal.
Hmm.
That's my speculation. But the big thing is the Bears have been very hefty on the offensive line in free agency this year. And hell, I wouldn't be shocked if they go for it again in the draft because they really value Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
They truly do.
they have some
So
picks.
they do. And guess who else has picks? The Buffalo Bills.
Yeah,
But
thanks to Dallas.
yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Oh, that was a great one.
But if there's one team that I really want to earn my fucking face on, is this. It's pretty obvious who's on my shirt.
Oh, the New York Jets. Oh my God, they
Can,
are screwed.
yeah, let me ask you a question, Thomas, of all
Mhm.
people. Can you explain to me what the fuck are the Jets doing? Why did they? Please explain this to me as best you can. Why the fuck did they go from Sam Darnold to Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers, back to Zach Wilson to Justin fucking Fields? Can you explain that to me?
They probably ended up smoking kratom.
Jesus Christ. And I thought the Jets were going to be smart this year and say, you know what? We should probably get Shador Sanders. We should go get Jackson Dart. Fuck no. If anything, the Jets fucked themselves over.
Yeah,
So you now have Justin Fields, 2 years, $40 million,
which is
and then
absolutely
Tyrod
insane.
and you get Tyrod Taylor in the process.
Oh,
Oh my
sweet
God.
Jesus.
The Jets did so little in free agency.
Right. And then when you look at the other stuff that they've done, okay, here's their signing. So obviously, besides Justin Fields, who they ended up signing, cornerback Brandon Stevens, 3 years, 36 million. Safety Andre Cisco, 1 year, 10 million. Edge rusher Rashad Weaver, right tackle Chukwuma Okafor, tight end Stone Smart, and center Josh Myers. Then they ended up retaining linebacker Jamie and Sherwood for 3 years, 45 million. Safety Tony Adams, where they tendered his RFA deal, and then cornerback Isaiah Oliver. So I'm like, and $49 million in dead cap thanks to cutting Aaron Rodgers.
Oh my God, the Jets are so fucking stupid. It's comedy gold at this point. You can't make this
Oh
shit
my
up.
god. It's like, hey, Woody, hold my beer. We can do something even more stupid.
Quite literally. And the funny thing about all this is that the Jets will never learn. They think that you go from Aaron Rodgers to Justin Field. What possessed the Jets of all teams to pay 40 million to Justin fucking Fields?
Right.
Justin Fields.
I know. It is crazy. Actually,
This is nuts.
I was gonna say, if hey Rob Hazu, if you're out there and you're listening, jump on the show because I'd love to ask you about one quarterback move that we ended up seeing, and oh yeah,
Oh my
Cleveland
God.
is where everyone has gone to die because it is just a big time dumpster fire over there. So
So are
right
the Raiders to be.
now, right now, they ended up signing defensive tackle Malik Collins for 2 years, 20 million. Offensive tackle Cornelius Lucas for 2 years, 10 million. Edge rusher Joe Tryon Shoyanka for 1 year, 4.75 million, and linebacker Devin Bush for 1 year, 3.25 million. But the two biggest things that happened. Miles Garrett, oh, I want out. It's like I don't want to be part of a losing culture anymore. It's like there is no way in hell I'm gonna sign with this team. Oh yeah, well they backed out the Brinks truck because 4 years, 160 million. Yeah, you're gonna stay with the losing culture. And then the funny part about it, Philadelphia's like, oh, tiny hands Pickett, we don't need you anymore. So your ass goes to Cleveland.
Quite literally. It's just funny to me because it's
Oh man.
like I don't know how to describe them because it's the fact that these teams are willing to go beyond the distance for all some of these free agents. The Browns are a fucking dumpster fire, and trading for Kenny Pickett for what? What was the purpose of that?
Right. And what's he gonna do? Learn behind a washed up QB that's coming off of an ACL tear?
Yeah, you remember how a few years ago we were ripping OBJ, saying, "Oh, that he was teasing about coming to the Bills,"
Yeah.
and then he ended up going to the Ravens or whatever it was, and then the following year was Miami. Remember how D Hop did the same thing?
Yep.
Miles Garrett did it too. He
Yes, he
basically
did.
he basically cock teased everybody into saying, "I want to be traded. I want to leave Cleveland, and I'm getting old. I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to be on a contender." And only for the Browns to throw 153 million guaranteed to a non-quarterback player ever in the history of the league, and for 5 years till 2030.
Oh god. It's like Miles Garrett, you could have come here and possibly won a ring.
Or Philadelphia, which
Yeah.
that could have been beneficial. But no, you chose to die. Same with Crosby. The only one that's really out there that's still a chance, which I doubt at this point the Bills are going to do it, is Trey Hendrickson. And the Bengals are asking for a first-round pick for Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, that's gonna be a little something.
That's tough to do because is
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Trey Hendrickson's a beast, but first-round pick for a 30-year-old?
Yeah. I'd say no.
I agree. Maybe a third I would do, but other than that, I would not do a first round
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah, exactly. Second would be the absolute highest I would go, and that's stretching it.
Yeah, and that's throwing in a sweetener pick to go with it.
Right, right. But let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys because there are some hilarious things in here. So the things that they did first, of course, they ended up signing defensive tackle Solomon Thomas for 2 years, 8 million. Offensive lineman Rob Jones for 1 year, 4.75 million. Running back Javante Williams, 1 year, 3 million. Edge rusher Peyton Turner for 1 year, 3 million. Linebacker Jack Sanborn for 1 year. So those were the signings. They ended up retaining defensive tackle Osa Odigizua for 4 years, 80 million, which I thought was crazy. Wide receiver, kick returner, punt returner Cavante Turpin, 3 years, 18 million. Safety Marquise Bell, 3 years, 12 million. And then, of course, Trent Seig, 3 years, 4.45 million. Cornerback C.J. Goodwin, 1 year, 1.42 million. And then, of course, Tyrus Wheat, 1 year, 1.03 million. And punter Brian Anger for 2 years. But here's the funny things that happened. They ended up trading for linebacker Kenneth Murray from the Titans. But the hilarious one, and good job Bean, because you fucked the Cowboys on this one by getting 2 picks. Kyer Elam goes to the Cowboys.
Yes, Kyer Elam to the Cowboys. And I was talking to my buddy Millman, who, as we know, is a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
And I approached him about this deal, and I said, "Oh, look, Jerry's actually waking up this year." That was the first thing he said. He said, "Jerry's actually waking up this year." But in terms of the deal, I have it in my hand. So the Buffalo Bills got a 2025 fifth-round pick and a 2026 seventh-round pick from the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for cornerback Kyer Elam, and the Cowboys in return are also getting a 2025 sixth-round pick as well.
Bills won that deal.
By a mile shot. See, I wish that Elam worked out, but unfortunately McDermott just never used him, and that was a big factor.
Yeah.
And even in the 6 games that he played with the Bills, which was really not enough, especially if you're a former first-round pick, you want to have a good impression, and
He didn't.
he didn't really pan out, honestly.
No, and actually, I think he was pulled from one of the games just because he wasn't doing anything. I mean, when you're getting beat by your backups, I mean, that's a problem.
Yeah, especially going back to the AFC Championship game where Christian Beckford, I think he had a concussion in the Ravens playoff game, and then the following week he came back and he was projected to play, and it was all handy dandy. He was ready to go. He gets hit in the head again with another concussion, and Elon comes in, and it's just like, oh, fuck.
He got torched.
Yeah, and you know what's too funny looking back on it is the Chiefs, if you remember that game, and I'm sure you do, is that if you look back on the film, Mahomes kept throwing to his right, and that was where guys like Sky Moore or Xavier Worthy were at,
Mm-hmm.
and Kyer Elam was covering all those areas, and he was out of position. He couldn't cover. He couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
So for the fact that Dallas Cowboys, I'm even more impressed about two things. I'm impressed the Cowboys even got the damn guy, and
Yeah.
I'm more impressed that the Bills even got a return for him because he sucks.
Yeah. Shera! It actually did something that actually
Yeah.
benefited us. And apparently, as of right now, the Bills have a plus 750 odds for winning the Super Bowl. So that's just interesting, according to CBS Sports. But good old Jerry, he
Well,
actually did something that benefited us.
Well, I could certainly say, as of now, if I'm not mistaken, the Bills have, let's see, one, two, three, five, six, seven. They have 9 picks going into the draft in April. So they have
Ooh.
the first round pick, which is the 30th. So they have one first round pick, 2 second round picks, 2 fourth round picks, 3 fifth round draft picks, and 2 6 rounders.
Yeah, as I was saying, wasn't one of the six rounders like a compensatory pick or something?
Yes, that and a fourth, I believe.
Nice.
Or it might have been a fifth, actually.
Even still, to have 9 picks in the draft and you're making these deals, hey, that's good to see. So that's a big plus. One of the things that actually is kind of shocking, the Houston Texans went downhill real quick,
You mean
and
by trading Larry Tunzel?
yeah, well, that's definitely the big one that they ended up getting rid of. But yeah, besides getting rid of Laramie Tunzel, I mean, they ended up trading for wide receiver Christian Kirk from the Jaguars. They ended up getting safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Eagles and offensive guard Ed Ingram for the Vikings. So, okay, those three moves aren't too bad. They did keep Harrison Smith, Mario Edwards, edge rusher Derek Barnett, Dare Ogunbowale, Jake Hansen, and M.J. Stewart. Then they also managed to sign cornerback and kick returner Tremon Smith, Nick Neiman, Sheldon Rankins, Darrell Taylor, Lakin Tomlinson, Braxton Berrios for 1 year, $2 million. He's got to be happy to be out of the Jets at this point. And then, of course, Justin Watson.
Yeah, it's a lot to accommodate for, you know what I mean? Like all these teams are trying to improve, but yet at the same time, they really don't know what they want to be. But by being active, it pretty much means that all these teams are investing to try to get better. But some teams really just don't know what they're doing. But there are teams that are trying to get better. Like Philly, for example, they just completely dismantled their entire team pretty much. Not because they couldn't afford it, but it's just they weren't able to make it work out.
Mm-hmm.
So what do the Eagles do? They get AJ Dillon from the Green Bay Packers to pair up with Saquon Barkley on a 1 year deal.
Whew, there you go.
Yeah, did you hear about that one though?
That was interesting to hear a little bit
Yeah,
about that.
AJ Dillon to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's a big factor though. But in terms of like free agency, we really haven't heard a whole lot from Houston because of the fact that you trade for Kirk Cousins. I mean, trade yeah, Christian Kirk. I almost said Kirk Cousins. Um, Christian Kirk, but then you trade Laramie Tunsil, and then here's a real good kick in the nuts. Tell me if this makes any fucking sense. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson to the Houston Texans for former first-round tackle Kenyon Green.
Hell no.
Yeah, so in other words, Kenyon Green is the replacement for Laramie Tunsil.
Hell no. Big downgrade.
Yeah, Washington got better.
Yes, they did.
Washington got better.
Massively better. And we'll cover them in a few moments too. But thinking about it, I mean, let's look at the Steelers. And this is actually, Rob's got to be having some conniption fits on this one. But
He probably is.
yeah, so the big trades, obviously, the Steelers traded for DK Metcalf. And then they agreed on a 5 year, $150 million contract. So he's staying there for a while. And they also traded for wide receiver Ben Skowronek. But they also managed to sign Darius Slay, Malik Harrison for 2 years, $10 million. Slay is a 1 year, $10 million deal. Tight end Ronald Parham Jr. for 1 year, 1.17 million. They also ended up getting Ryan McCollum 1 year, 1.1 million. Defensive back Brandon Eccles, running back Kenneth Gainwell for 1 year, 1.79 million. But the funny signing out of it, well, besides the fact that they basically have no QB right now after getting rid of Fields, and they don't know if Russell Wilson's going to be coming back. Uh, 2 years, $8 million for Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, Rudolph the Red Zone Reindeer is back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the question I want to ask you is who is going to be the QB1 for Pittsburgh? Is it going to be a quarterback they draft, or is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? Or do you think it's going to be Russell Wilson? What's your opinion?
I don't want either of them for the Steelers. Quite honestly, I'd rather have them draft and develop.
Well, the last time they did that, they failed miserably with Kenny Pickett of all fucking people.
Yeah, exactly. He was gone after 1 year.
How the fuck did Kenny Pickett win a Super Bowl after just 1 year?
Right?
How the fuck did he win a Super Bowl? Oh, you won a Super Bowl? Cool. We'll trade you to the fucking Browns in the process.
Yeah, it's like the same thing as like the odds of Powerball. It's like one in like 800 billion or something crazy.
Is it me or is that dude just lucky?
He's just lucky as all hell, man.
I don't know. He's got to imagine being the meme of memes, the king of memes and backup quarterbacks, and all of a sudden you go and get a Super Bowl ring with your hometown team, and then they punish you by trading you to the freaking Browns.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
Exactly. What's up?
We actually have some breaking news coming out of Adam Schefter. He
Okay.
is saying that quarterback Taylor Heineke is staying with the Chargers for one more year at $6.2 million.
Okay.
Anyway, back to our daily program.
Yeah, so let's talk about Seattle because we actually know a little bit about Seattle. We actually ended up staying there for 5 days this past October. So, the first big thing, obviously, they traded Geno Smith to the Raiders. And who's his replacement? Sam Darnold. 3 years, $100.5 million.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. When I heard the Raiders got Geno Smith in a trade from the Seahawks, my antennas immediately went up, and I said, "They're going for Darnold."
Yeah,
That was my first initial thought. They're going to get Sam Darnold.
yeah.
And what do? They
They
go
got-
get Darnold.
They got him. Yeah.
They got him and they paid him.
Yeah, they did. And then they got edge rusher Demarcus Lawrence for 3 years, $42 million. Wide receiver MVS for 1 year, 5.5. Offensive lineman Josh Jones for 1 year, 4.75 million. They also ended up retaining Ernest Jones IV at 3 years, 33 million, and defensive tackle Jaron Reed for 3 years, 25 million. So they didn't make a ton of splashes, but they do have a QB, and Sam Darnold proved himself in Minnesota because now he's got a long-term deal.
Well, I think what really struck me was the DeMarcus Lawrence deal. That to me, that literally took me by surprise because I didn't even know he was a free agent. And if I knew he was a free agent, I obviously would have wanted the Bills to grab him. But because, well, I didn't hear anything about it, he gets paid a lot of money by Seattle. So I wish him all the best.
Yeah, definitely. And then the Washington Commanders went all in because they had a great year with this past year. Of course, Jalen with getting their QB of the future, and obviously
Jake Daniels.
yeah, Jaden Daniels. It all paid off, but they got him some tools. So let's see. First and foremost, we already talked about Laramie Tunsil coming over from the Texans, but they also traded for Debo from the 49ers.
Well, Debo, I think, is going to do just fine in
Yes, he
Washington. I think
Yeah.
he's going to do just fine.
Yeah, and then on top of it, they re-signed some key players as well. So I mean, linebacker Bobby Wagner, 1 year, $9.5 million. They have Jaden Daniels backup Marcus Mariota for 1 year, $8 million. Tight end Zach Ertz is going to stay another year at 6.25 million. Punter Tress Way, 1 year, $2.8 million. Tight end John Bates at a 3 year deal. Running back Jeremy McNichols for 1 year. Cornerback Noah Igbinoghene. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but 1 year. Offensive lineman Trent Scott for 1 year. Defensive tackle Sheldon Day for 1 year. And they re-signed their kicker Zane Gonzalez to an undisclosed deal. But then they also ended up getting Javon Kinlaw for 3 years, $45 million. Safety Will Harris for 2 years, $8 million. Defensive lineman Dietrich Wise for 1 year, $5 million. Defensive lineman Eddie Goldman for 1 year, $1.255 million. Cornerback Jonathan Jones for a year, and offensive lineman Michael Dieter. So they took care of a lot of the key players they needed.
Certainly. I mean, it helps them out big time. And I mean, Nobody saw them go to the conference finals last year against Philly. Nobody saw that coming.
Right.
And then all of a sudden now they're getting very active. So I think at this point the expectations went from okay, you're it's up to your team to automatically you're in the race as a Super Bowl contender moving forward. I would love for Washington to go to the Super Bowl, but adding Larry Tunsil to the offensive line definitely helps their case. It
It's an
truly
upgrade.
does.
Big
And that
upgrade.
dude's a future Hall of Famer, whether people like him or not.
Yeah, huge upgrade there. So good to see them actually really investing in their team. One team that's not investing though, the New York Giants. And
Oh my God.
it is a dumpster fire. And how Brian Dayball and the GM still have a job there is beyond. Because let's see who they kept. Wide receiver Darius Slayton is staying there 3 years, $36 million. Punter Jamie Gillian, punter Jamie Gillen, 3 years, $9 million. Quarterback Tommy DeVito, 1 year, $1.03 million. Tight end Chris Manhurst for 1 year, linebacker Deontay Johnson for 1 year, and the exclusive rights for free agent tender, and wide receiver and kick returner Amir Smith Marset. But then they also ended up signing cornerback Paulson Adebo for 3 years, $54 million, safety Javon Holland 3 years, $45 million, defensive lineman Chauncey Golston 3 years, $19.5 million, offensive tackle James Hudson III for 2 years, $12 million, defensive tackle Roy Robertson Harris 2 years, $9 million. Linebacker Chris Board for 2 years, $6 million. Offensive guard Aaron Stinney for 1 year, and offensive tackle Stone Forsythe. Oh, sweet Jesus, you have no quarterback.
I do like the Javon Holland sign, though. I do. I think Javon Holland, when he's healthy, is a very good safety. I mean, we obviously know what he does because he played for the Dolphins.
Right.
But, I think for him to get the starting role with the Giants, I think that's going to help a lot. And yes, we are correct on this. They don't have a quarterback because they're waiting on either Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. They're going to get one of the two. If it's not one of the two, I suggest, if I'm a Giants fan, I suggest going after Cam Ward or Shador Sanders.
Right. Or you can do one other thing: pray to whoever you believe in and hope that some miracle beyond miracles happens.
Well, they're definitely not getting Kirk Cousins because the Falcons have already said we're going to keep him, which
Mhm.
I still to this day believe that was one of the worst free agent signings I've seen in a while. And
Yeah.
in case you want to know, Adoree Jackson left the Giants and went full Saquon, and he's going to their interdivision rival to the Eagles.
There you go. So,
hmm
yes.
Well, if you want to talk about another team that had a somewhat disastrous free agency spree, losing Ryan Kelly, losing a bunch of key pieces, adding Cam Bynum, I think helps too. How
Mhm.
about the Indianapolis Colts?
Oh,
They're
God.
another one.
Yeah, so here's what they did. They ended up retaining wide receiver Ashton Doolin for 2 years, $8.5 million. Right tackle Braden Smith. They reworked his deal. He has a 1 year deal. Center Wesley French for 1 year, and offensive lineman Danny Pinner. Then they ended up signing safety Cam Byram for 4 years, $60 million. Cornerback Chavarius Ward for 3 years, $60 million. Quarterback Daniel Jones, 1 year, $14 million. Running back Khalil Herbert for 1 year, and kicker Spencer Schrader.
Herbert's a good signing. I'll give the Colts that because they desperately needed a running back, and they've needed one
Mhm.
for a while.
Yeah.
Well, I should mention real quick, speaking of the Giants, one name I've heard consistently as of late is Joe Flacco being thrown around, but I don't see that happening. It's too
No,
old.
yeah, he's done.
Yeah, but as for the Colts, so basically what they're saying here is because they don't have much faith in Anthony Richardson, I mean, the dude's a bitch. I mean, he got benched last year. He didn't
Mhm.
show up or he didn't want to perform because he apparently didn't feel like it. So they said, well, to prove a point that you're still shit, we're going to go get someone that's shittier than you. And that's Daniel freaking
Mhm.
Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and then one thing we forgot to cover when we went through the Bills deals that came about. Sam Martin is no longer on the team. He was cut, and basically he has signed with the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, I didn't see that. When did that happen?
It actually happened about 2 days ago. So
Really? I didn't hear about that.
yeah, so basically what ended up happening is, um, and I'm actually trying to pull this information up now, but the Carolina Panthers did agree to terms. Basically, with what they're saying, they didn't. they didn't even mention like the length of the deal or the term or anything like that. It just says they've agreed to terms.
Well,
That's all it says on their own site.
you want to talk about someone who came to agreements and terms, I'm sure you didn't hear this one yet. Gardner Minshew signed a contract for 1 year with the Kansas City Chiefs.
I did hear about that.
And then apparently a free agent target, Asante Samuel, because apparently a lot of Bills fans want him because of health issues. They're not really sure. Is visiting with the Cardinals as we currently speak.
Interesting. Yeah. So actually, okay, here we go. So got a little bit of details now. So apparently the deal that Sam Martin ended up signing is worth up to 3 million this year. And had he stayed with the Bills it would have been 2.485 million against the cap, but basically with him being cut, 400,000 in dead cap.
Okay, I mean it's not
400,000
horrible.
ain't bad.
It's not bad at all, but I'm just saying that could have been better.
Yeah. Well, it's still a lot better than 49 million for the Jets just because of Rodgers, so
Well,
uh,
that's the Jets' damn fault. And speaking of the Jets, I should mention too that Devontae Adams got a 2 year, $46 million deal on Sunday with the LA Rams.
oh Jesus. Yeah. And how about the Rams? The big, or no? How about the biggest? One of the biggest cuts that ended up happening. Cooper Cup, after 8 years, is done.
Where do you think he goes?
I don't even know at this point.
You want my opinion?
Sure,
Denver.
be a good fit. Denver's trying to
Well,
build up, and you know what? They actually haven't done too bad so far. So thinking about that, I mean, they ended up retaining DJ Jones. They ended up retaining tight end Evan Ingram, 2 years, 23 million. They retained Jarrett Stidham at 2 years, 12 million. So of course, you have the backup there. Linebacker Justin Sterned for 1 year, 2.7 million, and of course they retained Mitchell for Boney for 1 year. But they also ended up signing safety Talanoa Hufanga, linebacker Dre Greenlaw, which that was a big signing at 3 years, 35 million. Offensive tackle Matt Pert at 2 years, 7 million, and wide receiver Trent Sherfield Sr. at 2 years, 6 million.
oh yeah, definitely. Denver is really trying here, and I think we're adding Drake Greenlaw is huge because that really helps with their defensive core.
Hmm.
Because bringing back BJ Jones, I think is also going to help as well. So Denver's really trying their best here to really be competitive. Maybe they saw something in the game against the Bills in the playoffs. They said, even though Denver got blown out, I
Hmm.
like what they got going on here. Bo Nix is a young quarterback. You want to build around him. That's a big thing
Hmm.
that you must do, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what they're doing. And getting Ingram, who's probably, let's be honest, the best tight end in the free agent class. Let's
Hmm.
not bluff ourselves and say he's amazing, but if he's the only good option at tight end, there's something wrong here.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. But you know one of the teams we've also seen that's having a fairly interesting offseason because of the fact that they might be screwed next year? The Cincinnati Bengals.
Dude, I called this. I said Cincinnati was going to be bad.
Oh yeah. So they basically end up retaining T Higgins with the franchise tag, which obviously he wants out. They end up keeping B.J. Hill for 3 years, 33 million. Mike Gesicki 3 years, 25.5 million. Edge rusher Joseph Asai 1 year for 7 million. Offensive lineman former Buffalo Bills Cody Ford 2 years for 6 million, which he sucked when he was here. Linebacker Oren Burks 2 years, 5 million. Cornerback Marco Wilson 1 year, 1.52 million. Tight end Tanner Hudson for 1 year, and then of course Kel Adamitis for 1 year, edge rusher Cameron Sample for 1 year. They end up signing Titterell Slayton for 2 years, 15.1 million, and running back Samaje Perine for 2 years, 3.8 million. Their offseason sucks.
Yeah, really. And again, the Bengals to me are just. I feel this way every year about the Bengals. Ever since the Bengals gave Joe Burrow all that money, they're willing to spend money elsewhere, but not pay Jamar Chase, not pay T. Higgins. They're willing to do everything else though. So the whole team is so distraught that Trey Hendrickson wants out of Cincinnati.
Hmm.
It's a fucking joke with the Bengals, and the fact that they're starting to fall apart just further proved my point that I mentioned a year ago. I predicted the Bengals were going to miss the playoffs last year. and they missed the playoffs by
Yeah.
a game. So I think this trend's going to continue. I don't think the Bengals are getting better anytime soon.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you look at some of the other big signings that ended up taking place, I mean, the Rams ended up retaining Matt Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo. They ended up signing Devontae Adams, Puna Ford, and Coleman Shelton. So they did some upgrades there, in terms of getting Puna Ford. I mean, good player. Devontae Adams, good player. Shelton will definitely help them out. But oh my God, the Dolphins fucking suck.
Well, it's kind of obvious, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so let's see. So with the dysfunction in Miami, they ended up keeping linebacker Tyrell Dodson for 2 years, 8.25 million. They kept Elijah Campbell, Quentin Bell, D. Eskridge, Jackson Carman, and Liam Eichenberg. Then they ended up signing offensive lineman James Daniels, wide receiver Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, quarterback Zach Wilson, of course, safety Ifeatu Melifonwu, offensive lineman Larry Borum, safety Ashton Davis, running back Alexander Madison, which Tyler was having a nice little orgasm over, which he's not that great. And then linebacker KJ Britt for 1 year. So guess what? Miami Dolphins. Josh Allen is still your daddy. The Bills still control the East. And you guys will probably be losing 2 more games to us this season.
Well, you also have to mention the Raiders getting Raheem Mostert on a 1 year deal.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is a good thing. And of course, Geno Smith is going to give him a lot of stability at quarterback. So
Geno Smith.
even though he's not great.
I don't know. This whole offseason's just been nuts. I expect more deals to happen in the near future. It's been kind of slow since Monday because of the tampering period, but
Yeah,
there are still some really good free agents available.
there
Plenty
are.
of them.
There are.
But it's just that I think a lot of people are waiting on the domino effect of Aaron Rodgers. And that's probably why the market has been kind of slow as of late because they're waiting on Rodgers. But we all know what he does best. Professor Aaron Rodgers, he's basically just saying, "Hello, everybody. This is Professor Aaron Rodgers. I just want to let you know I might be look like a homeless hobo, and I'm in the middle of Saudi Arabia. But I just
Right.
want to let you know that I am an attention-seeking whore that's going to pick between the Giants or the Steelers, and they will suck my dick and lick my hairy balls in the
Yeah,
process."
probably. Yeah, he's probably doing his ayahuasca retreat right now, for all we know. But
Was that a good Mr. Aaron Rodgers or Professor
yeah, it
Aaron?
all works out. It's all good. Yeah, but then, let's cover the New England Patriots because they actually did make a lot of moves, and I mean, they did retain Austin Hooper for 1 year, 5 million, but they ended up signing defensive tackle Milton Williams, 4 years, 104 million, which is up there. Cornerback Carlton Davis for 3 years and 60 million. Edge rusher Harold Landry, 3 years, 43.5 million. Linebacker Robert Spillane for 3 years, 37 million. Offensive tackle Morgan Moses for 3 years, 24 million. Wide receiver Mac Hollins, 3 years, 24 million. So he clearly went after the money, or I'm sorry, 2 years, 8.4 million is what he was. I was actually repeating Morgan Moses for some reason. Quarterback Josh Dobbs, 2 years, 8 million. Edge rusher Kelvon Chason for 1 year, 5 million. Defensive tackle Kairos Tonga for 1 year, 2.7 million, and safety Jalen Hawkins.
Yeah, the Patriots so far. The funny thing about the New England Patriots is that leading up to the offseason, a lot of Pats fans were under the impression that they were going to get AJ Brown. The Eagles said no. They were under the impression of getting Cooper Kupp. That's not going to happen because the Patriots
Right.
are not good technically right now. And then you also have no elite wide receivers other than Mac Hollins. New England desperately needs a wide receiver, and they have yet to get any of the guys they wanted. I mean, how do you think Bills fans feel right now? They couldn't get Max Crosby. They couldn't get Miles Garrett. They
Mhm.
couldn't get Trey Hendrickson as of now. I mean, they still can, but it's highly unlikely going to
Right.
because of the asking price. But it's like the Patriots are failing at everything else. They're failing at the most important position on the team. Yeah, go get Harold Landry. Sure, go get Mac Hollins. But is that going to make Drake May any better?
No.
I mean, I like Drake May. I think he's going to be a talented quarterback, but it's like, fuck, dude, help the guy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Get him some tools. Get him
literally.
some people that he can get the ball to and get him the protection he needs on the line so he's not getting crushed like he did all season.
Oh, speaking of the Patriots, did you hear that they released David Andrews?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, after 10 plus years, the New England Patriots have released him.
Yeah, it's,
One of the key players during the Brady era.
good old Robert Kraft is up to his antics again. So
I'm telling you, man, the New England Patriots are just. I don't know what to think of the Patriots. I
yeah,
really don't.
me either. Me
They're
either at
really
this
not.
point.
I don't know who's going to suck more next year in the AFC East. Is it going to be the Jets? Probably. Is it going to be the Dolphins? I don't know. It's hard to tell because, well, they do this every year. And the
Hmm.
Patriots, I mean, they could be good. They could be a sneaky good team, but it's like they're hard to tell. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to
Yeah.
maintain any sort of uh jurisdiction on them. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That's just
It,
my two thoughts.
yeah, it definitely is. So it's absolutely nuts, like where we are so far with some of the stuff with free agency. But you know what? There's more deals that are going to be coming, and of course, we're not too far from the draft, which is a beautiful thing. So, um, as we get more to it, you know what? Hey, we're gonna be able to do. We're gonna cover a lot more, obviously, and we'll see what happens. But I was to say, you know what? We've already covered an hour on the NFL. Let's go into the NHL because I mean we still have at least 30 minutes, so we can definitely cover some teams here. But I'm trying to think. Where do we start? Oh, let's start with the Buffalo Sabres. And Kevin Adams should have been fired about 3 years ago.
Nothing but agony and pain.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
God
Terry,
damn it.
get yourself a president of hockey operations, get yourself a GM that's not a fucking yes man, clear out the entire front office, and do something and trust your people to run the team instead of having your thumb up its ass every single moment. Because right now, this trade deadline has been absolute crap for the most part so far. So let's get into it. So
Yeah.
one of the things we thought would happen, Jordan Greenway, Jason Zucker could have possibly been traded. No, they're extended for at least a couple years. So that ended up happening.
Soccer
Then,
is fine though, because I like soccer.
yeah, I'm fine with that. Greenway, I'm kind of surprised that they ended up doing a multi-year deal, but it is what it is. But then, one of the things that they ended up doing, and this was a deal that I know there were some questions about ahead of time because they did finally send Dylan Cousins out of here. To the Ottawa Senators for Joshua Norris. So he is a little bit more expensive on the cap. So it's 7.9 versus 7.1. Not the biggest deal in the world. But the problem is he's injury prone. And then even when he is healthy, is he really that much of an upgrade on Dylan Cousins? So that's one thing there. But then the other thing is that we've done nothing else. So essentially on the Bleacher Report, they gave the Sabres a C so far, but it's like, Kevin Adams, don't be afraid to pull a big trade and stop sitting on these people that are doing absolutely nothing to improve your playoff chances. We haven't been to the playoffs in well over 10 years at this point. Actually, we're almost at, was it 14 years now at this point? I lost
Soon to be
count.
15. After this year, it's gonna be
Yeah,
15
which
years.
we're already out now, so it's like so much for
So,
that. But
so
it's
in
like,
other words, the Sabres have not made the playoffs since I was a senior in high school,
yeah, basically. Yeah.
which really
In
speaks
in
volumes.
Terry Pagula's entire tenure, except for year one, we've never made the playoffs.
But okay, so I have a lot to say about this. So let's go over the trade that they made with Ottawa. So because you're talking about Josh Norris. So the Buffalo Sabres acquired Josh Norris and defenseman Jacob Bernard Docker, a former first round pick in 2018 by the Ottawa Senators in exchange for Dylan Cousins, Dennis Gilbert, and a 2026 second round pick. Okay, I have something to say about this
Hmm.
because for one, Sabres fans don't know what the fuck they're doing. They really don't have any thought process about this trade. And what I mean by this is when they say, oh, get rid of Cousins, he's not a team player, he does this, and that. You know how they do this. And
Hmm.
then as soon as they have immediate success after 3 games with their new team, Dylan Cousins, of all people, starts
Yeah.
tearing it up with the Ottawa Senators. And it's like, oh, why did you trade Cousins? And it's like, make up your mind. You were just bitching 3 days ago
Right.
how you wanted him gone, and now all of a sudden, just because he's been having success with Ottawa, now you're gonna bitch that you want him back. That's
Right.
not That's not how this fucking works, you morons.
Exactly. And look at how he played here. He was softer than hell. He never stood up for his teammates. In fact, look at what happened when Rasmus Dahlin was in that fight right before he got traded. Did he go in there and end up helping him out? No, it didn't happen.
No. And guess what? I covered that. I covered that story when Cousins got traded, and it's on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So if you want to check that out, be my guest.
Yeah.
But
what happens? First game, gets points, and he ends up having like 9 hits.
Yeah, and again, like I said, trading Cousins, I think long term was probably the best thing to happen to the Sabres. The dude, and here's my big gripe on Cousins.
Yeah,
In
he's
the
been
first
declining since he took the money.
Exactly. He didn't give a shit. He's not a team player. And the fact that the Senators were even able to get him for what the price was for Josh Norris, okay. Norris hasn't really been that productive as of late, but I think it's just more of just getting used to the system because it's not like we're expecting Wayne Gretzky or Connor McDavid to immediately take the ice. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that. You know, with Norris, it took him a little while. Yeah, he's injury prone, but when he's healthy, he could put up 20 plus goals a season. And then recently, he's been showing flashes of talent, which is starting to become a thing, by the way. He's starting to have chemistry with Tage Thompson.
Yeah, which is a good thing because he's actually gotten points in the last couple games. And he got his first goal the other night.
Exactly. So it started to come up. But again, these ignorant Sabres fans are literally going, my Cousins, you traded him because he's still great at Ottawa. And it's like, well, maybe if you didn't have such a shitty fucking culture in the last 15 years, and by the way, the noise is getting louder and louder and louder within every media outlet in the last couple of weeks, if not days.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's getting so fucking bad, dude, that Paul Bissonnette, who is the Aaron Rodgers of hockey, by the way, goes on Spit and Chicklets and started spewing bullshit about the Sabres. I don't know if you've heard the story. I'm sure you have.
About Dahlin possibly wanting out, and then Dahlin was denying it?
Yes, that one. Yes, that one. But the people are saying, and Dahlin was like, I have no idea what he's talking about. I never approached him about it, saying, yeah, do I like the system we're in? No. Do I like where we are? No. But I definitely want to get better. So, in other words, he's basically saying gently, yeah, I want to stay, but please get help here because we need to get better, and I'm going to be hitting my prime pretty soon, and I want to win. And you know what? People are immediately having flashbacks about Jack Eichel and how he handled that situation.
Oh, yeah. What does he do? First full season with the Vegas Golden Knights, wins a cup.
Quite literally. Well, second season, but no. So immediately people said, oh, here we go. Rasmus Dahlin, he's going to leave. I got to tell you, man, Sabres fans, I know we're all frustrated. I know that, we've had 14 years of rough hockey and incompetent ownership. I understand that entirely. But people have to realize that in order to keep a player happy, you have to build a team around him. And Pegula, of all people, is too fucking stubborn to do that. And we've known this, and we have acknowledged it. And there is a breaking point, of course, yes. But at the same time, you don't want to piss off the one guy that just became the captain not even a year ago.
Right. Because then if you lose him, there goes your number 1 draft pick.
Quite literally.
Again.
So, let's think about this. Ryan O'Reilly gets traded, wins a cup. Jack Eichel gets traded, wins a cup.
Yep.
Sam Reinhart gets traded,
wins a cup.
Yeah. So people are now saying Dahlin's going to be it. People now think Cousins is going to be in the situation. It's possible, but I'm not counting on it. But as far as I'm concerned, it's so irritating because of the fact that people are now saying that 15 years is too long. The Sabres have to get better. They must get better. The pressure has to be mounted. And if they're going to be taken seriously, my suggestion is this. It doesn't even have to be a GM position. Go get Ken Holland. Go get him to be the president of hockey operations. Look at the Canucks. Yes, they're a disaster. But if you look at the Canucks, they're actually trying. And they're not great. They're not bad.
Right. They're kind of like in the middle. I mean, they're not like ass. I mean, they're not the greatest team out there, but they also did outperform last year. So, I mean, they did do some good things after they had that bad year. So, I mean, Vancouver is actually trying to do stuff, and we saw it firsthand when we were there this past October.
Yeah, it's Jim Rutherford is the president of hockey operations. Knock on wood.
Hmm.
Patrick Alvin's the GM. So maybe what Adam should do is actually grow a set of pair of balls, stand
Resign.
up to his overlord, and basically tell him, "Listen, we desperately need a president of hockey operations." But no, Terry likes yes men because they will suck his dick for the majority of the time.
Hmm.
And if there's anything that's abundantly clear, and I said it the minute that, and I said this to you 10 years ago, I said that. Watch what's going to happen. As soon as the Pagulas bought the Bills, the Sabres were going to be a second afterthought.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens. You have one team, the Bills, they're consistently in the playoffs and they're making some deep runs. The Sabres, they haven't done jack shit.
No, and that's a problem because you can't have one side of the city saying, "Oh, we love the Bills so much," because like 20 years ago, it was the complete opposite of it. Because
Yeah.
Ralph Wilson didn't want to spend, and yet Golisano was cheap, sure, but they had competitive teams at that time.
Yeah, they actually had some decent players.
Like I wasn't a big Golisano fan, but at least they were competitive.
Right, and at least they did try to make some moves, which was all well and good. Although Darcy Regier should have still been fired a long time before that, but
Oh yeah, of course.
obviously we all remember that. But still, it's like Sabres, you gotta do something here. I mean, you're losing your fan base.
Yeah, and I think it's not even this losing the fan base per se. They're also losing money and revenue and tickets and things like that. Terry Pagula is so oblivious about the Buffalo Sabres, like it's not even funny. Like it's this is such a fucking joke. The fact that I is still talking about this topic for the last 15 years,
Yeah.
or the last 5 since we ran Buffalo.
Yeah, we've talked about it every single year on this show and multiple times every single year on this show.
It gets so tiring. Like I'm tired of talking about it, but unfortunately, the Sabres don't want to do anything about it.
Right. And they just give us more to criticize.
Quite literally. At this point, if you really want to make a move, I feel like they can make the playoffs, but they need to get people. You don't even have to get superstars. You just have to get competent players that can play 60 minutes and a full 200-foot ice. That's really it.
Yeah.
And you need a coach who can get these guys motivated because it is so clear. And I said it in April, and you've heard me say it,
Yeah.
that I did not want Lindy Ruff back. And what do? They bring him back.
Right.
His legacy is completely destroyed at this point,
Yeah,
and now he's just a
exactly.
punching bag to the fucking media.
Right. And honestly, if you look at any of his press conferences, he doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to be part of the losing culture. He's done.
It's bad enough that he outright originally said before he got hired, he said no to the deal, and they probably gave him more money.
Right. And what happens? They still can't figure anything out. And yet, here's the other question I have to throw at Lindy Ruff, and this is squarely on Lindy Ruff. Why did you retain 90% of the coaching staff that couldn't get it done in the first place?
You know, I honestly don't know. And you know what? A lot of people have said that if Lindy gets fired, Seth Appert is going to be the coach.
No.
I don't agree with that. I think here's how I look
He'd
at it.
probably
I
be
think,
he'd probably be a better option because he got a lot out of the guys in Rochester and they respected him.
there you go. That's what I was going to say. He got a lot out of them, but he's a good developmental coach, but he is not an NHL coach on a full 82 regular season schedule. You can't
Right.
do it anymore. You just can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But the fact is that the Sabres are making moves that are just doing it because they're cheap. That's what I've been saying for years. Is Pagula is cheap. He has the money, but he chooses not to spend it, and he only spends when it's convenient for him.
Right. And you ever notice how he never talks to the media?
Never, never.
Unless it's about the Bills, he will talk sometimes, but it's very rare that he ever says anything about the Sabres. The last time he ever came out on any press conference for the Sabres was with Lindy Ruff being
That's it.
introduced to the team. Again.
And then he says the same old shtick. Oh, we're here to exist to win the Stanley Cup. Terry, shut the fuck up. Just sell the damn team, please.
At this point, I mean, that's really probably the best option. Unless he decides to finally get hit in the head and figure it out. That's hey, you need a president of hockey ops, so this way you can actually have the team properly managed.
He has no problem not touching the Bills, and the Bills are fine.
Yeah. So it's like, why can't you do the same thing with the Sabres?
I don't know. You know why I think this way? I think it's because he wants control. He wants some sort of power. And I said this for years too. Is the thing with Terry Pagula himself is he is a fucking cheerleader. And ever since he bought the team, I always criticized the guy. And I said, stop acting like a damn cheerleader and start running them like a business. Because clearly being a fan of a professional hockey team that you quote grew up as a fan doesn't justify your actions.
Right. And we look at the signings that have taken place. I mean, half of them don't even make sense. So it's like literally, like, Terry, get a president of hockey operations. I've lost count of how many times I've said this on this show in 5 years.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, get a president of hockey operations. Fire Ruff. His legacy shot at this point. Fire the entire front office staff. Get rid of everybody. Clean house. Shit, get rid of the scouts and everything. Get a whole new crop of people in here. And go out and get somebody from the outside.
I don't understand. I truly don't. I am, and this is why I'm also an Islander fan, because I can't take their shit. I mean,
Right.
can you really blame us?
Right. It's like, here's one thing I'll throw out there. The reason he probably doesn't go outside, because somebody from the outside will have the balls to stand up to him and say what they really think.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. And also, here's another thing I want to throw out there while we're talking about this. I don't want to hear excuses about them not bringing superstar coaches because they've done it before. If you remember Dan Bilesma of all people.
Yeah, who failed.
Yeah, who was a complete disaster, treated Sam Reinhart like shit. Oh, how about benching Sam Reinhart throughout the entire game against Columbus all those years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Just a few days before he got fired. How about pissing off Jack Eichel to the point where he said, I'm only going to stay at Buffalo if he's gone?
Right, exactly. And then look what happened. Then came the Phil Housley era.
Oh, God, don't remind me.
Then we had the Ron Ralston era.
Oh, here we go. Here's a really interesting stat, and this proves my point. So our buddy Rob Hazu came out with a list from gambling.com, and he said there's a list of teams with the least intelligent fan bases in the top 10. You want to hear this list?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Number 10, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Number 9, Carolina Hurricanes. Number 8, the New Jersey Devils. Number 7, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Number 6, the Anaheim Ducks. Number 5, the Detroit Red Wings. Number 4, the Vegas Golden Knights. Number 3, the Buffalo Sabres. Number 2, the Edmonton Oilers. And number 1, the New York goddamn Rangers.
There we go. Yeah, our buddy Brad on YouTube ends up chiming in and he says everyone from above Lindy has to go. And he said he would rather have a crappy season and rebuild versus a 15-year downslide.
I'd rather be crap and actually try to rebuild. Rebuilding, if I'm thinking a lot of people hate that term rebuild. Rebuilding means you have hope for the future and
Right.
you have prospects in your pool. That's what rebuilding is. Look at San Jose. They're garbage, but at least they have a good future.
Yeah.
Look at Chicago. You have year 3 potential coming up with Connor Bedard. Are they terrible? Yes, but will they get off the rocket? I don't know. But as
Possibly.
far as I think San Jose has a better chance of being competitive in a year or two than the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
And that's saying something.
Yeah, and San Jose has actually made some pretty decent moves. So
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're not like tanking by any means. It's just right now they're not great, but at least they've got some pieces that they can work with.
Yeah, Willie Eklund, Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini,
Yeah.
Yaroslav Askarov. I mean, these are good, talented players. Oh, and speaking of asset management, let's talk about that stupid ass Henry Jokiharju trade.
Oh, sweet Jesus, that was God.
Damn it, dude.
I mean, I wanted Yoki Haru gone, but Jesus Christ, what kind of return was that?
Quite literally, it's so bad I forgot what they got for him. Oh, wait.
I don't even give a shit at this point.
Oh, yeah, now I remember. It was a 2026 draft pick in the 4th round from the Boston Bruins for Henry Jokiharju. God damn it, dude.
Really, Adams, you couldn't have tried to pull at least a third?
I mean, hell, it could be worse. You could be the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, true. Or, on the other side, the Boston Bruins decided to sell and they sold a lot.
including Brad Marchand.
Yes.
Oh dear God.
Yeah.
My God.
So it's just absolutely nuts, like some of the things that are coming out. But I will say though, thinking about it, oh yeah, and Casey Middlestat comes back to the East Coast because now he's on the Boston Bruins.
Hooray.
Yay. And then I wonder what Andy would say about the Avalanche right now because that roster is completely different than what it was to start the season.
Oh yeah, of course. And I told Andy, take care of Brock for me, please, because I'm an Islander fan.
Yeah,
You
Brock
need me-
Nelson.
Yeah, Brock Nelson and William Dufour both got traded to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for Cal Ritchie, a 2026 or 2027 first round pick, which is a conditional third round pick as well, and defenseman Olivier Killington, who they ended up flipping for future considerations to the goddamn Anaheim Ducks.
Yep, which means they ain't getting anything. So that's how that is typically. But then,
Usually.
yeah, but then how about the fact that they ended up getting rid of Mikko Rantanen?
Oh my God. The return that Carolina got for him, I think that's a home run. And you also have to remember the extension that came with that too. Then he got
Mhm.
8 years for $96 million. So in general, he got 12 million per year by the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, absolutely
12
nuts.
million.
Yeah, they actually had and Carolina actually had a pretty decent trade deadline actually when we look at it. But I mean, they also ended up. Let's see. So they originally got Mikko Rantanen, and it looked like that they were going to be big winners. But then they're like, okay, well, we couldn't re-sign him, so let's flip him for to Dallas for Logan Stankoven, 2 first-round picks and 2 third-round picks.
By the way, did you see the comments that Rod Brindamore made about Mikko Rantanen?
I didn't.
Oh, this is something you would see on like TNZ. That's how
Hmm.
bad this is. So Rod Brindamore, like literally 3 days after the trade deadline, it was that month, this past Monday. Rod Brindamore goes into a podcast. I fully forget what it was. I think it was called a Gold Fan Radio or something like that in North Carolina, in Raleigh.
Hmm.
And he was asked about the Mikko Rantanen situation, and he straight up told the audience of that show that he said, quote, there's not been one guy that has left here because they didn't like it here. That was Mikko, and he did not like it. And he outright said, when he showed up, he said there's 4 teams I'll go play for, but you're not one of them.
Okay, that's your way out.
Wow. So wait a minute. I don't understand this. So Mikko Rantanen, a guy who is cocky and arrogant and entitled, who wanted $14 million, doesn't even get what he wants. And yet, on top of all that, you outright say, "Oh, Carolina, I respect you guys. You're a good team, but I'm not staying with you. I don't want to sign with you guys. You guys
Right.
are assholes." And I'm like,
Hmm.
I hate to break it to you, but I feel like, is it me or do I feel like the Hurricanes took a major fumble on the trade deadline?
I mean, they kind of dropped the ball. I gotta say that. But the Dallas Stars definitely made some upgrades.
Well, yeah, they trade him to the Dallas Stars, and he's going to play with Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, and then Rupe Hintz and Jason Robertson and
Yeah,
Wyatt Johnston. And the Dallas Stars are a very good team.
yeah.
There's no question about
They've
that.
easily been one of the better teams over the last 5 years. I mean, there's no question on how they did that. But
Oh yeah, big time. And the other thing too we should mention is the return. So the Carolina Hurricanes got forward Logan Stankoven, a 2026 first round pick, a 2028 first round pick, and both of those picks are top 10 protected. And they also get a 2027 third and 2028 third as well.
yeah, so they have room that they can draft and they can bring in players. So I mean, that part, it does work out to some extent.
Big time. And guess what? The Canes now, I wouldn't call this rebuilding. I would call this a long-term strategic move
Hmm.
because think of what they did 2 months ago, dated back to late January, is they made the trade, and I was at the game the day after they traded for Mikko Rantanen in that three-team deal with Chicago and
Hmm.
Colorado. Colorado got Jack Drury and Martin Necas and a bunch of other assets. Carolina got Mikko Rantanen. That was the big prize at the
Yeah.
time. And they got Taylor Hall. So they extend Taylor Hall. Okay, cool. He's there. And then you get Rantanen, and it's like, where's the contract extension? Why hasn't he signed? And then now this came out and basically said, I'm
And
not
you
signing
flip
with
them.
you. Yeah. And you know what's funny too? He said he would only sign with 4 teams: Dallas, Toronto, Florida, and Edmonton.
Yeah. And
That's it.
and he goes to Dallas. Dallas becomes more of a powerhouse. Carolina gets some big assets in return, at least, where they have two top 10 picks in the first round draft over the next couple seasons. So there you go. You can add some key players at key positions.
Oh yeah, and the Canes can easily flip these picks to
Hmm.
get more help in the offseason. They can.
Yeah,
They absolutely can.
yeah, definitely. Although you want to know a team that's a kind of a dumpster fire right now? Yeah, the team that beat us last night, the Detroit Red Wings, who did absolutely virtually nothing on the trade deadline. So basically, what happens? Yeah, the bottom basically fell out, and Iserman didn't do really much of anything except for dumping Ville Husso's contract on Anaheim for future considerations. And he also decided to take a really nasty goalie contract for next season in Peter Mrazek. They still have no defense. They basically ended up watching San Jose turn Jake Wallman into a really good player who absolutely sucked for the Detroit Red Wings. And basically, what happened is, yeah, the Bleacher Report grades them a D.
The Red Wings are just a very interesting team. Like, I want to see Detroit make the playoffs, but I feel like at the same time, they're kind of just stuck. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, they'll have these big games and these big moments, but I feel like the Red Wings are at the point now where it's like, it's not enough. They're 2 points behind Columbus. Ottawa's up by 5 at this point. So, in reality, it's not getting any better because you have the Canadians and you have the Rangers and you have the Jackets and the
Yeah.
Senators. Oh, and the Bruins are not getting any better because they sold the entire team. You have you have Tampa and you have Toronto and Florida. They're
Hmm.
all competing against each other,
Yeah.
which is nuts. But the fact is, the Red Wings are in a very tough division with a half of those teams in the playoffs. I don't know, man. I'm not really sure if Detroit's going to make it this year.
Right. Yeah. Oilers had added some big time defensive help because basically they ended up getting Jake Wallman. So and they also got Trent Frederick, so there you go. I mean, especially when their defense was primarily Evan Bouchard and Matthias Ekholm, you finally have a legit second pairing that takes some of the pressure off of them. So that part's
Yeah,
good. Now, the only problem is can Stuart Skinner get the job done? Because, I mean, they have had some goaltending issues.
absolutely. They've kind of had this issue all season long. So really, it's nothing different. But the one team I really think stood out from the crowd, in my opinion, was obviously the Boston Bruins. But we went into detail about them already. But I think, though, I do want to mention there is one team in here, and I'm just going to find them real quick. Found them. Philadelphia. Yeah,
Hmm.
Philly, you're fucked. You're
Yeah.
fucked, Philly. As far as I'm concerned, you get you get Nikita Grebekin, who's by the way best friends with Matvey Michkov. Okay, it's fine. You get a first round pick, and you trade Scott Laughton, a fourth in this year's draft, and a sixth round pick in 2027. And then they made another trade, but with the LA Kings, they ended up getting a third in 2027 from LA for Andrei Kuzmenko.
Jesus.
What the fuck what did Philly think was gonna happen?
I don't know, man. I really don't know on that one.
What did they think was gonna happen?
Right, right.
Yeah. Oh, and the rat line. Yeah, Florida. How the hell are they going to make this work? You have Sam Bennett, Matthew Tkachuk, and Brad Marchand. The rat line coming into the
Hmm.
playoffs come April. Oh my God.
Yeah.
My, my God.
Oh, and here's a funny stat. So remember how we've joked about how bad Rasmus Ristolainen is after we got rid of him?
Yeah, he was so bad that the Leafs were wanting him.
Yeah. So guess what? Here's the stats for this season, but you're gonna laugh after I go through his career stuff. So
Okay.
63 games played this year. He has 4 goals, 15 assists, 19 points. Literally for the first time ever, he is actually a +3.
It's not really saying a whole lot.
Yay! You did something.
Yay.
Yeah, but then his career stats are still absolute crap. So, 776 games played, 56 goals, 248 assists, 304 points. You want to take guesses what his plus minus number is?
Somewhere in like the 30s,
Oh, way worse than that.
40s.
Nope.
I'm not sure. What?
Minus 179.
Oh God, heaven and hell. Please hear our prayers. Oh my God, am I
Minus
glad.
179 for his career.
Boy, am I glad that Adams actually did something right for that one time.
Oh shit.
Oh my god.
That is like one of the worst minus ratings in like modern history.
That was one of the best trades that Adams made, was getting rid of Rasmus Ristolainen. That guy is ass. And the fact the Flyers even gave him money really speaks volume.
Yeah, I mean, it is brutal. And when you think about it, especially in 2023-2024, the worst out of anybody was William Eklund at minus 45 for the season.
Oh.
But that's just the season. But when you look at like the worst career plus minus in all of hockey, Rasmus Ristolainen is like right at the top or close to the top, because that is just absolutely insane. In fact, even if you go back to like, I found this on Reddit. If you go back to 2016, Kirk Muller, minus 146.
Oh my god.
So when you're at minus 179,
You easily have one of the worst contracts in the league.
absolutely.
I mean, and Philly's paying him what, $5 million per year?
Yeah, it means they're getting ass.
Oh my god. This is mismanagement 101 by the Philadelphia Flyers. But then again, this is a Chuck Fletcher trade. This is not a Danny Briere trade. This is a Chuck Fletcher trade. Chuck Fletcher financially fucked that team over.
Yeah, he did. He did. In fact, here's a team we can take a look at. The Pittsburgh Penguins. So they don't want to say they're rebuilding. Oh yeah, they're rebuilding.
They are definitely rebuilding.
Yeah, and they've been doing some sell-offs also, but just real quick, and then we'll cover a couple other things before we wrap up. But Anthony Beauvillier, Michael Bunting, Cody Glass, Luke Schenn, and Vincent Descharnais were all traded over the past couple of weeks. And then they also traded Lars Eller, Marcus Peterson, and Drew O'Connor earlier in the season. So now they are up to having 30 draft picks over the next 3 years, which is more than any other team in the league. But then when Kyle Dubas ended up taking over, and they didn't trade any of their big names. But they also had no pressure, and they also did not move Richard Raquel or Erik Karlsson. So the Bleacher Report is giving them a B for the trade deadline so far. I mean, yes, they're going to have a ton of picks that they can build from. I mean, that is just crazy, though. 30 draft picks.
I mean, I could be almost certain they're not going to use all those picks.
No, I mean, there's going to be some that are probably dealt at some point, but it's like when you look at that whole thing and how they ended up flipping players over the last few weeks and actually all season long, but it's just crazy what ended up happening. And then, of course, Cody Glass didn't do much for them. Luke Schenn sucks. We all know that, so.
Well, Luke Schenn got flipped to Winnipeg.
Yep.
Yeah, what was that trade they made? Drew O'Connor, that's what it was. They made that trade with Toronto as part of the, was it Connor Timmins I'm thinking of? It was Connor Timmins. Yeah. He went to the Penguins.
Yeah, so just interesting to see like what they ended up doing, but I mean that's just the other team in Pennsylvania here. But then unfortunately the Seattle Kraken, yes, we did watch a Kraken game live, and they didn't do a whole ton at the trade deadline either. I mean,
no.
And unfortunately they ended up doing some selling. So they did keep Jared McCann, which is good. They should have done that. But they did get multiple first-round picks and an NHL player, and Michael Eyssimont, in exchange for giving up Oliver Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gourde, and then they also got a second-round pick for Brandon Tanev. So I would say, was the worst, is the roster worse than it was going into the deadline? Sure. I mean, are they doing anything this season? No. But they do have some picks that they can work with. And then also, I mean, there's a couple other things. I mean, they got Capo Caco from the Rangers for Will Borgen. So, I mean, that was a big short-term and long-term win. So, Will Borgen sucks. I mean, and I got to see him when he was part of the Sabres before the Sabres got rid of him as part of the expansion draft. So.
And I got to see him when he was with the Rangers.
Yeah, he's ass.
Yeah, he really is. And we actually do have some breaking news out of the National Hockey League in general. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
So, Pierre LeBrun just came out with this story an hour ago. He's reporting that the NHL is considering an 84-game schedule, that the season would start in September, not October, and that would start in the 26-27 NHL season.
Okay. So we got
And
some
there's
more games.
and there's also growing speculation about the possibility of canceling the 2026 All-Star Game in Long Island next year.
Oh crap.
Yeah, this is becoming a problem because I think Bettman's starting to realize that, the All-Star Game is becoming useless, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, when the Four Nations face-off did way better than any All-Star game.
I mean, it's bad enough that, the Four Nations face-off was a huge success. So my thinking is that they're going to cancel the All-Star Game next year in UBS, which I hope they don't do, but I think chances
Right.
are they're
'Cause
going
that's
to.
like 20 minutes from your house.
Yeah, quite literally. Maybe not even 25. So
Yeah.
at that, it would be nice because I know we've been talking about it since it was announced. But if they cancel the All-Star Game, then it's going to suck. But at the same time, it kind of saves everybody money in a way.
Yeah, true story too. I mean, yeah. I mean, you look at it that way.
So based on that report, they're saying that they could start the scheduling for the 84 game regular season schedule in late September, which is probably around like week 4 of the NFL season.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe get a little bit of bonus hockey in here. It's not all that bad.
Not bad at all.
So, yeah. And then, of course, if anyone's following the Great Chase, Alex Ovechkin, 9 goals to go.
He's going to do it. I believe in him.
Yeah. And we may see it before the end of the season yet. There's still plenty of time, so.
Oh, yeah. He's got. You know what? I think that if he scores a hat trick, I don't even know when the Caps play next time. Let me see here. When do the Caps play? So, what's today? The Thursday? So
Yeah, today's the 13th.
they play tonight at 10:30 against the LA Kings in Los Angeles. So there's a chance Ovi could score here.
Yeah, and he's actually had multi-goal games this year, so and even when he had that broken leg, he came back and he got several games with hat tricks, so he easily made up for the time he was out.
Well, I knew that when Ovi went down, I knew at some point he was going to make this happen.
Yeah.
You cannot doubt him. He's one of the greatest players of all time. There's no question
Yeah.
about that.
He goes in the Hall of Fame first year, easily.
I hope he does. Yeah, easily. And I hope he does. And he outright deserves it. The NHL cannot allow him to not be in the Hall of Fame for after what he's been able to accomplish.
Right.
You just can't do it.
Yeah, and right now when they ended up getting the Capitals win the other night, basically he ends up scoring goal number 886, and he ends up getting his 1600th point. So, I mean, those are numbers that nobody will touch.
No, not at all.
At least, probably not in our lifetimes.
We'll see what happens at that point, but I don't know. We're probably never going to see this again for at least a while.
Yeah, I mean, he's just that good of a player. But that being said, hey, we've been on for an hour and a half already. Yeah, you want to do some quick baseball news before we wrap up?
Yes, I do actually, because there actually is one big piece of news that's actually really sparking a lot of shit. There's 2 topics I want to talk about.
Well, here's one thing, and this might be one of them. The Tampa Bay Rays are not getting a new stadium after all. They're going to fix Tropicana Field, and it's pissing a lot of people off.
Well, yeah, and that's not all, my dear. Apparently, the Tampa Bay Rays have also announced they will not be moving forward with the plans of a new stadium in St. Petersburg, and this comes amidst reports that owner Stu Sternberg is under metric tons of pressure by Major League Baseball
to sell the team.
There you go. Back to square one.
Yep. So, you know what? The stadium should not be in St. Pete. I've been to Tampa. It should be in Ybor City, which is right near Amalie Arena, where your fan base is.
Quite literally. And, what's it called?
And a lot easier to get to.
Yeah, quite literally. And there's 2 problems with this one. Number 1, the Rays. You need a new stadium. Tropicana Field is outdated. It's obsolete. You cannot stay there long term.
Yeah.
You were supposed to get a new stadium deal, and it fell through.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
and it should have been
due to
done at
Hurricane
least 10
Milton.
years ago.
I agree. And now, here's the trick that's really starting to stir the pot. Is MLB on Fox on Instagram posted a picture from New Era. Yes, the hat company. It's their headquarters in Buffalo.
Yep.
New Era came out with a new hat for the potential expansion team name and logo. You want to take a guess the name of the team?
Let me guess. Nashville Stars.
That is correct. And apparently, the color, style, and the logo, there are two things that stand out. The first one is the logo is a big S and an N. So it looks like it has a caliber of every other team in Major League Baseball, like the Cardinals, the Mets, the Yankees, and things like that. It has that style. And it also has Chicago White Sox colors, black and white.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the name of the company is called Music City Baseball, and they are working very hard to bring Major League Baseball to Nashville, which they can either do through expansion or relocation
Yeah.
with the Rays.
And the interesting thing about Nashville, so of course you probably know Nissan Stadium is going to be done in a few years. It'll be like a year after the new Highmark Stadium opens, or possibly the same year. I don't remember exactly which one it is. It's either the same year our new stadium happens or the year after. But the new Nissan Stadium is being built next to the old Nissan Stadium. Want to take a guess where a new baseball stadium could go? On the
Right
site
on
of
top of it.
on the site of the old Nissan Stadium.
Well, first they got to knock down that stadium before they do
Right.
anything.
Yeah, and
second,
they built that on the massive cheap to begin with, so there were a lot of issues with it.
well, the other problem that Major League Baseball is dealing with as well is not just the Rays, but the Athletics. Because right now, their stadium deal is an utter shit. They don't
Yeah.
have a deal in Las Vegas, and you just put a team in Sacramento temporarily for at least 3 years.
Yeah, and on top of it, they blew up the hotel for where the stadium was supposed to go.
Ay, ay, ay. Rob Manfred has left such a black eye on this
He
this
sucks
topic.
as commissioner, seriously.
He really-
He should have never been in there in the first place.
Yeah, and supposedly he's retiring in the end of the decade.
Good.
My God.
He should be gone sooner.
Oh yeah, I agree with that 100%. But it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? He's incompetent. He's
Yeah,
woke.
he is.
He does a lot of stupid shit. And the fact is that you have not one but two teams in Major League Baseball that have issues going on. And you know what's so pathetic too is Major League Baseball. I don't know if it'd be catching this trend as of late. Did you see the hats that were sold on MLB.com that were immediately pulled?
No, I didn't have a chance to see this week.
Oh my God. Yo, I want to talk about this.
Okay.
This is legit the funniest shit you will see in a while. You ready for this?
Mhm.
So on MLB.com, there's a new series of hats, right? So if you go on their website right now on MLBshop.com, there's a new series of hats, and it has the team name and the logo and all that jazz. It'll say like Mets or Yankees, things like that. So it's the word mark going across like that, and the logo goes in the middle. And as of now, there are 5 of these hats that have been removed from the MLB store because of misprint.
Oh God.
So let me read you one. I have 3 on my hand. Actually,
Sure.
4. I have 4 actually.
Okay.
And I'll even tell you the teams. The first one is, and this is probably my favorite one, is the Angels. So, if you take the LA Angels logo,
Uh-huh.
right? Think of this in your head. It's a big red cap. You take the word Angels, but you instead of replacing the G with an A, what do you get?
Oh God.
And these hats are being sold for like $500 on eBay because they're so red.
Actually, you know what? I actually have eBay up on the second screen right now, so
You need to see this. It's so fucking like it is so fucking funny. And then here's another one. The Texas Rangers, same thing. If you take the X away from the word Texas, what do you get?
Oh shit.
Texas.
Oh
Astros.
man.
The Athletics and the Astros both got heat for this one coming up. So if you take the word Astros in the Houston Astros logo, you take the word T and R out of the equation, and you put the H logo in the middle. What do you get?
Oh shit.
Assholes.
Yeah. That's bad. That is straight up bad. It looks like
yeah.
it actually looks like eBay right now, just from what I'm seeing on here. It does look like right now there isn't really anything on here for it, so I don't know if it's been pulled or what the deal was, or unless everything's sold already. But yeah, I'm not finding anything on there just yet. But yeah,
I
I'll
did.
definitely, yeah,
I
I'll definitely have to take a look.
I actually found one, and if you type in anals hat angels or
Uh-huh.
something, or like assholes Astros, there's a viral hat. I found one right here. The Angels hat that went viral is up
Hmm.
for sale on eBay and everyone's got different prices. There's one that's up for available for $185 plus tax.
Oh
So that's a
God.
$200 app. And then you have someone is selling one with the Angels hat,
Uh-huh.
$500.
Ooh, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, big time. The same thing with the other teams like the Astros and the Rangers, the Angels and the Astros and all that. My
Hmm.
God, it is
That's
so
nuts.
that is so funny. And the Athletics one got the most heat because if you look at the hat as it is, it's a green baseball cap with the Athletics logo on it, just the A's, right?
Hmm.
Because you know how it's spelled A's and it's a big A with a slash and then an S.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, somebody in MLB Network got fired for doing this. And instead of athletics, it's ass.
Shit.
Oh my God, it's
Oh God. Oh, and actually, I just did a Google search, and I definitely see what you mentioned on here also. So it is just hilarious. Yeah.
yeah,
It's good.
yep. I found three of the hats of the Astros ones on eBay. There's one going on now for $103 with two bidders. There's one on eBay as well for $386. And then there's one more, and probably the most expensive one with the overlap,
Uh-huh.
$2,000.
Damn.
$2,000 for that one hat on eBay with 17 watchers.
That is crazy.
Yeah, dude, these hats are so rare that it's such a joke. It's funny as hell.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's some good stuff. Good job, Major League Baseball. Yeah, somebody probably got fired for it.
You fucked up royally.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Oh my.
yeah, but no, it'll be interesting. I'll still have to figure out if I want to come down for the Subway Series maybe this summer. We'll still have to take a look at that. But
Well, chances are it's looking good so far, but we'll go into detail about that next month in April.
yeah, yeah, of course. So with that, I was gonna say we covered a lot of stuff in just over an hour and a half. So, was there anything else you want to cover before we wrap up?
Yeah, one more thing.
Yeah.
Tatas, anals, and assholes. An ass.
Yeah.
Drive a questionable hat design, pull it back, and suddenly it's a collector's item. Now eBay scalpers are making it more profit than the league itself.
Even better. Good job,
uh,
baseball.
oh, that's
Oh
great.
God. Although I will say Juan Soto's looking good for the Mets so far.
Well, yeah, they're paying him for what he's worth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sucks to be you,
Um,
Yankees.
yeah. Well, I guess that's it for now as far as topics.
All right, good stuff. So of course, everyone that joined us, we appreciate it as always. Of course, if you want to check out some of our older episodes, go on to Spotify, go onto our YouTube. It's all there. And then, of course, next week we're back on Wednesday nights. So just keep in mind, the rest of the season it'll be either Wednesday or Thursday. We'll let you know when, but of course, any other trade deals or things that happen, we'll let you know. But in the meantime, thanks for watching as always. We appreciate it. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you